Okay guys, this is Dustin coming at you with a topic that has kind of been on my mind quite a bit lately. A lot of people tend to want to ride the Aventis hype train. Is it a good fragrance? Yes, it's a good fragrance. It's a natural fragrance. At one point, it's still, everybody says it's the king of the fragrances. But does it still deserve that title? Now, for me, about a month and a half ago, I still had the sample, but I gave it away. It just did not last on me. Was a newer sample of Creed Aventus, and all I got was maybe a little moss, a little bit of bergamot zestiness up top, and then within at least right at an hour, I could not smell it on my skin anymore. Now, I know a lot of people who are still willing to spend the $400 or $450 for a 100 ml bottle. Me, I can't justify spending that kind of money, especially on something if it's only going to last an hour. Because I find at that price point, you are just paying for a name when there is plenty of other fragrances out there that perform how Creed Aventus used to perform several years ago before they started doing all these reformulations. Now, as far as reformulations go, from everything I've heard, when Creed Aventus first came out, it had a prominent birch note, which gave it a smokiness. And a lot of people are searching for that batch of Aventus. And because people are searching for that batch of Aventus, these sellers are gonna rack the prices up astronomically because they know people are willing to pay whatever it takes to get that old batch of Aventus. Now, me personally, I'm not gonna fall into that because, one, not just because I'm a single father of three, and I could put $500, $600 towards something way more useful than an overhyped, watered down fragrance. So for me, if I want that DNA, I'm gonna be looking for it at a fraction of the price. To the untrained nose, which is the majority of people that you're gonna see walking around town, or just basic people who aren't into fragrances, and they smell something and they're gonna be like, oh, that smells good. And they're not gonna necessarily know if you're wearing Creed Aventus or Club de Nuit Intense Man or Mont Blanc Explorer or Off-Non Silver Supremacy, whatever you decide to go with. So me, personally, I've been really liking the Mont Blanc Explorer. On my skin, I get 8.5, almost 9 hours. And that's in cooler weather, which surprised me. Now, do I think I'm gonna get more in warm weather? Probably. Other ones I've tried in the past is Club de Nuit Intense Man. And I love the performance I got out of that. 8 to 10 hours, no matter the weather. The only downside, which I agree with a lot of the people on this, is the eau de toilette has a very harsh lemon opening, a very sharp lemon opening. But that goes away within a couple minutes, and then you're left with this smoky, oak mossy, subtle pineapple and bergamot type of Aventus, which that tends to be what I recommend to people if they are looking for that older style of Aventus where the birch note is more prominent and it gives it that smokiness. I always recommend to people, if you want something like that, look at the Armaf House and the Club de Nuit Intense Man, the Eau de Toilette, or if that opening is a little too much for you, check out the Eau de Parfum or the limited edition Parfum. And those are going to be a little bit more pricier, but it's not going to be the $425 you're going to pay for a watered down batch of Aventis. Now, other options, if you want that fruity style Aventis, but with more performance, a lot of people that I see are looking more into things along the lines of some of the alt fragrances, some of the independent houses like alt fragrances, and what are some other ones? There's quite a few out there that are doing their own rendition of Aventis. Me personally, I find on my skin the extract de parfums, like by alt fragrances, I still only get 5 hours out of them, but not too much on projection, since it's a little bit more heavier. So my recommendation is, if you're wanting something that's more the fruit forward style of Aventis, one you can check out is Mont Blanc Explorer. This is gonna be kind of more of a juicy bergamot up top, and you're gonna get vetiver and some oak moss in there that is very reminiscent to some of the fruitier batches. I would say this is right around 85% close to Aventis. But in the dry down, that's when the vetiver and the woods tend to come through quite a bit more. Now, other options. There's so many Aventis clones out there, guys. And one that I like to recommend to people that's affordable, that gives you that fruity Aventis DNA, is by the House of Afnan, Silver Supremacy. Not the Not Only Intense. I found the Not Only Intense to be a lot more black currant heavy and oak moss heavy. And I found I didn't get hardly any fruits out of it. When it was projecting, it was just a black currant bomb on my skin. But the Not Only Intense, to me, smells very natural, but for a under $30 scent, the longevity is fantastic. I get 7.5, 8 hours, which is already more than what current batches of Aventis are. And it's eau de parfum, but you're gonna get that pineapple and kind of a zesty bergamot, and then the oak moss, and the birch in that is more subtle. So it's not gonna be as smoky, but it's gonna give you that more fruity Aventis DNA at an under $30 price point. Other options are by Al Haramain La Aventure. That's going to be a more bergamot heavy, with a little bit of the smoke in the background and oak moss forward. You're going to get right in that 6 hour range. I was getting about 6.5 hours. And that's going to be kind of, to me, I find kind of more of an in-between. For me, you get the smokiness of kind of the birch, but you also get some of the fruitiness up top, like you do with some of the current batches, without it being a huge fruit bomb. So there's so many different options out there, but me personally, I'm not gonna pay $400+ for a bottle of Aventis when I can only expect to get at most 2 hours of performance out of it, which I find is absolutely ridiculous that a company would still charge $425 or $450 for a 100 ml bottle of something that dies out in just a couple hours. I find that almost a ripoff, personally. That's why I'm going to gravitate towards more of these clone houses, and even Mont Blanc Explorer and some of these other ones. And so I can get that type of DNA at a way better price point. So I know some of the people who are big fans of Aventis are probably going to give me crap for this. I mean, if you can afford Aventis, go for it. If you are accepting of that 2-3 hour performance, go for it. That's you personally. Personally, me, I'm not gonna warrant spending that amount of money on something that on my skin isn't even gonna get me through a half a day. So give this comment a like, leave a comment, share it, subscribe. See you guys in the next one.